professional, also a perfect record. 35 fights, 35 victories, including 32 by knockout, including 22 consecutive KOs, and he has KO'd every opponent he's faced over the last 8 years. This Olympic medalist from Karaganda, Kazakhstan, is the reigning, defending, undefeated, universally recognized true middleweight champion of the world, Gennady Golovkin,
John Jones is a bad guy. That guy, if we were living 1,000 years ago, he would be on a horse with the biggest battle axe, waiting in the back, hacking heads off, and everybody would be running. And those people have always existed. These dominators have always existed.
If you don't know what the hold-up on the BELA Act is, it's the clauses which allow the provincial head of education to decide the medium of language within our schools, which is obviously a huge crime within the previous regime. Speaking as someone who was labeled as a terrorist and told to the judge to not speak a word of English, only Arabic, even though I was born in South Africa, I grew up in South Africa, when the opportunity arose, I still chose and actively choose to stay in South Africa. I schooled in South Africa as well. I went to an Afrikaans high school, to be precise. Pretty much fell in love with the culture and discipline from there. And I say culture because Afrikaans is a culture, and it should be respected as one. And it's of its own, an Afrikaans culture of its own. Make no mistake, we need to give them their respect on this, and respect in general. Like, for fuck's sake, man, Dan Carter proves my point on white by politics, which is that Afrikaans people really get it bad. From all the different cultures, they need to be allowed a seat at the table because they are just as much members of this family within South Africa as any one of us, which is why I'm so strongly against this bill. I thoroughly enjoyed going to an Afrikaans school, I'd do it again, and also want to send my kids to the same Afrikaans school I went to. Why not, you may ask? Well, I can't if these fucktards action a bill which forces the medium to be, for example, Zulu in KZN. And this is the thing about why it's a thing. This is the havoc that the centralized admission and language policies of the BELA Act will want. And imagine who stands with the bill in its entirety. Go look. This is unconstitutional. We all should be allowed education in our mother tongue, and I would go further as to say we are all entitled to decide the language of our education. What they don't want you to know is that the only second language offered in my high school was Afrikaans, if you were English speaking, and then English if you were Afrikaans speaking. But you know what? There were a bunch of black kids at my school along with me, and a bunch of Indians and colored kids as well, as many English-speaking white kids too. And regarding the parents, they were fully complicit in knowing that this is an Afrikaans school with Afrikaans lyrics in their school song. Why is Afrikaans a culture of discipline? Because I still remember my school song. Every last word. You should go and ask the flower lovers and tree huggers funded by the NAW agents if they remember the school song. They should go play cricket. Do you think they want you to know what I said about my school? Of course not. That's why they have to throw me in jail. Afrikaans people from my school weren't even racist, and it goes across like the students and the teachers. I can't think of a time I even had one racist event even occur. Like I'm sure there might have been, but I can't even think about it. So can I even say, literally the principal taught at the school during apartheid. She was at the school after apartheid, and I mean she came to my mom's funeral. That says something, but more than enough. Literally nicest bunch of people ever, but they have to lie to you about them, which as you know, many reasons as to why and how they come to you during electoral cycles claiming they're enemies, but work together in cigar-full smoke rooms of their tea and biscuit meetings. This is why we need to seriously do away with the whole old flag, orange is the new black, if there's a bunch of Afrikaners people Afrikaans people standing together, it's breaking news. Like, it's pretty lame, especially since they don't actually ask for much. They mostly prefer to keep to themselves. For all they have done for us in terms of stopping the spread of communism, into Africa, as well as being one of the largest employers within Africa, the least we can do is stand in solidarity with their issues as they have done with us. Always. To bust the myth, most Afrikaners aren't even whites. So saying Gates and McKenzie being at the protest is stupid. It's very stupid. We don't need to change any education laws. We need to build more schools, and we need to hire some more teachers. This can only happen with direct investment, both on a public and corporate level. We need existing tax revenues to grow, as well as to supply SARS with new avenues of revenue. This idea that now schools from Marikana must teach Xhosa due to the influx of Xhosa people is foolish. No immigrants had ever had it that lucky. When Afrikaans and Indian settlers arrived in South Africa, they built their own schools to learn their own languages. We will now help our African brothers build their own schools, both using public means but private means as well. Our African brothers will have their own education systems for the purposes of inclusion. We want to see an Olympic swimmer from Shlabisa and a Springbok from Gugulethu. Just because some workers' unions dump their members at a business and within a community, it is not an obligation of neither that company nor community to divvy up to politically motivated requests. You learn from the land if you eat off the land. Either get your own land or move to new land. It's really that simple. We are all immigrants here. Like, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but read a book or go onto Wikipedia. We are all immigrants here.